Hey everybody, welcome back and thank you so much for joining me again here on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. So once again from Old Carter Whiskey Company, we're diving into another one of their fall releases of 2020. So as most of you know, Old Carter recently has been pumping out an awful lot of great whiskey. And today, hopefully we can kind of go over again what their batch 6 bourbon, again being released here in the fall of 2020, will have to offer. And again, does it compare to the hype around batch 5? Well, I guess we'll have to find that out today. So a couple of the specs for the Old Carter Bourbon Batch 6. This is coming in at 106.5 proof or 53.25% ABV. MASHBILL is undisclosed on this one. Again, they're non-age stated, and the MSRP for most of these is always around that $175 to $200 price range, depending on where it is you're able to find it. So they do fluctuate a little bit in price, but are fairly consistent for the most part. So, all right, typically what I try to do with my reviews is we'll go through the appearance, we'll nose it, taste it, and then really get into anything else having to do with the whiskey itself. So, all right, let's go ahead and we'll get into the review. So as you can see, color-wise, again, they're always really nice, deep, dark, copper, almost mahogany type of colors. They do a really nice job with blending these whiskeys. I mean, both Mark and Sherry Carter, again, they do a fantastic job with all of these, and each batch is always going to be different. They kind of hang their hat on the fact that each batch is, again, always going to be something different and unique, which is something I really appreciate, them doing. I like that part about the company and always getting something a little bit different. So, all right, let's get into the nose. So this one right away, there's this really nice kind of like sweet cornbread note. Definitely some butterscotch that's there. A light to like kind of medium oak on this one. It's not super oaky by any means. Nice creamy caramel note. Even a slight mint that's there as well. And even there's a little bit of like an herbal characteristic to it. Maybe like a green or black tea type of note. Touch of the dark fruits. Actually, the dark fruits, now that it's kind of opened up a little bit, are kind of starting to come through a little bit more. And there's also a little bit of a mineral type of note on this too. It's always the mineral note for me when I pick that up. It's almost a bit of like a sour, like a sour candy kind of note to it. I know some people will also define that mineral note as like a Flintstone or a vitamin type of note. And I guess it could be that as well. All right, let's go ahead and we'll get into the taste here. Cheers. So again, there's definitely some heat that's there right away. Little hotter than normal. Usually something around that 106 proof isn't super hot. This one's a little bit on the hotter side, but quickly that dissipates and turns into this really nice, like sweet, creamy, like caramel note. Coats the mouth extremely well. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they do no chill filtration, any of that, just straight from the barrel. Runs through probably a slight, screening process and then into the bottles. So you're always getting that full-bodied or full proof type of bourbon. But yeah, going back to this a little bit, there's still some of that like a sweet cornbread type of note, like I got a little bit on the nose. Definitely some of that, like, that mineral type of note is lingering a little bit. Again, medium oak. And with that mineral note, there's still some of that like herbal characteristic to it. Again, like probably more of like a black tea. The black tea can be a little bit more, I don't want to necessarily say pungent, but it can usually be a little bit more like bold, I guess I should say, in terms of the herbal aspect to it. Really nice rye spice overall. It kind of continues to linger there. That oak becomes a little bit more present in it. Not super dry at all. Still, you know, had a good mouthfeel, coated the mouth really well. Slight dryness that's there to it. So with that, some of the dryness that's there, for me again, I start to pick up some of those, like the leathers, like this one with it being on the sweeter side, more of like a sweeter tobacco. There's that tobacco note in this, but more of like a, I guess it would almost be along the lines of like a sweeter pipe tobacco, something that you traditionally, when you smell a pipe, it's a lot of times very sweet. It's very much like that from the sweetness side of it. But very, very nice. Maybe even there at the end, a touch of a nutty characteristic to it, more of like a dry roasted peanut, something along those lines. There's a little bit more of that, kind of like that dry roasted part of that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very nice bourbon, you know, coming off of batch 5, which everybody that I know, you know, within the whiskey world, so to speak, has, I mean, most people loved it. This is just different. And again, you're going to get those different batches. Not everything is going to be the same. Some are going to be better than others. You know, for me, batch 5 fit what I like in a profile for a bourbon. You know, this maybe depending on what it is that I've described, maybe this is what, you know, works, you know, more for you. So again, all of their whiskeys are good. They're just different, you know, in their own right. So, you know, that's one thing about these batches. It's not that one is bad or good. Those are generally terms that I don't use in reviews because it's all subjective. It's just different. So based on what I've described today, if this is what you enjoy, great. That's all that I you know, care to do, is try to get it out there in terms of what it is that I'm tasting, and hopefully, you know, if that's again something that you enjoy, then you can pick up you know, this bottle. So let's get into the kind of the finish. The finish is actually nice and long on this one though. Yeah, again, some of those little bit of the dark fruit there at the end. That the rye spice in this really holds up, you know, very well. The traditional bourbon notes are there on the finish. The caramels, the vanillas, things along those lines. Nice spice, nice medium oak presence that's there. Again, some of that sweet kind of cornbread, maybe a little bit of that sweet like pipe tobacco note. But a really nice finish on it, you know, overall. You know, and again, overall, it's a really nice bourbon. It's just different. Again, in my mind, because it's kind of fresh coming off of batch 5, they're very different as far as I'm concerned. But again, with that being said, if what I've described, you know, to you today is something that you enjoy, by all means, you know, buy it. It's not a bad bourbon at all. So with that being said, so, you know, leave some comments. I'm always, again, interested to hear people's feedback and thoughts on these particular, you know, bourbons, especially with Old Carter and having different batches. I love to hear people's experiences with each one, why you prefer, what you prefer. And again, that's the best thing about whiskey. You know, you drink what you like. There's never a wrong answer for the most part. Again, it's all subjective, but hopefully this helps a little bit with, you know, trying to decide whether or not, you know, batch 6 is something for you. So again, also, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can through my Patreon page, which I'll have linked in the description below. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those places at my Bourbon Journey. And yeah, so there you have it. Again, this is the from Old Carter Whiskey Company. This is their Bourbon Batch 6. So With that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning into another one of my reviews. And as always, remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.